Hello and welcome to Female Cricket Live, powered by Radio. Match number 3 of the 2022 Commonwealth Games will be played today, that is 30th of July, between New Zealand and South Africa at Edgbaston in Birmingham. The match will start at 3:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, and you can catch all the live action on Sony Live and Sony 1. But before we start previewing the match between New Zealand and South Africa, let us have a quick look at match number 2 that was played yesterday, that is 29th of July, between Barbados and Pakistan, which Barbados went on to win by 15 runs. So batting first, Barbados posted a respectable score of 144 for 4 in 20 overs thanks to their captain Haley Matthews, who muscled 51, and Kaisia Knight, who top scored with an unbeaten 62. On the other hand, for Pakistan, it was Fatima Sana who was the most successful bowler as she chipped in with 2 for 41 in her 4 overs. In reply, Pakistan fought hard as they managed to score 129 for 6 in 20 overs thanks to Nida Dar, who top scored with an unbeaten 50. On the other hand, for Barbados, it was Shamilia Connell, Deandra Doughton, Haley Mathis, and Alia Aline who chipped in with 1 wicket each. Now, moving on, we have match number 3 on the cards. It is between New Zealand and South Africa. And to preview this match, I have with me Dinesha Devnarayan, Lesogo Pui, Dhanush Lavanya, and Neha Shetty. So, brief introduction of all our guests today. So, Dinesha Devnarayan is a former captain of South Africa, and since 2020, she has been the head coach of South Africa Women's Under 19 team. Then we have Lesogo Pui, who is a seasoned cricket writer, cricket presenter, and she was also the team manager for South Africa when they toured India in 2019. Then we have Dhanush Lavanya, who is a cricket content writer, cricket analyst, and a cricket podcaster. And finally, we have Neha Shetty, who is a avid cricket follower and a cricket podcaster. So, welcome all of you to Female Cricket Live.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much
so
for
much for
having
having
us.
us.
Great, great. Glad to have all of you. So, Lee, to begin with you, how excited are you to see women's cricket being played as a part of Commonwealth Games? And of course, how happy are you to see South Africa featuring in this mega event?
Yeah, I'm really super excited. I mean, as we know that it has been the men's cricket team that has participated in the Commonwealth before in the 50 over format, and so it's great to see the ladies being included in the Commonwealth playing cricket, and I am excited, thoroughly excited. But I think I'm more excited to see the Momentum Proteas really come back from a terrible series against England, and hopefully they'll be able to have an opportunity to right their wrongs.
Absolutely. I think as Lee has just touched upon, South Africa's tour of England, and though the results did not go in South Africa's favor as they lost 3-0 in the T20I series, which was played as a part of the multi-format tournament, but I'm sure that it could have helped their preparations going into the Commonwealth Games. So, Dinesha, what do you think this England series, how it has helped South Africa in the preparations for the CWG?
Yeah, I was hoping I don't get this question, but yeah, look, it was really disappointing on the scorecard. I didn't think we played really good cricket or intelligent cricket for that matter. But the good thing, or there is positive about it, is having game time. So we were in England. We played against a quality side. We should be climatized now. We should be conditioned properly to assess conditions a lot better. But yeah, look, I think for me, it depends on what conversations we were having after the game and the 3 days after the last T20 was played. If we need to start having conversations about breaking the game down further, we've got to start having conversations about that accountability and responsibility. Um, and yeah, look, I know we're missing a few players and stuff, but there is positives to take out of the England series. There was a few batters that got runs for us, and obviously in tournaments like this year, you would want your players in form to perform.
Absolutely. I think few of the players like Anika Bosch and of course Laura Woolford, they had a good run with the bat in the T20 format. So I think as we are talking about the New Zealand South Africa match, we are joined by another guest in Ijeoma. So she is a cricket enthusiast and a cricket journalist with News Agency of Nigeria, and she's also the founder of Girls Aspire Sports Initiative. So I welcome you to our show, Female Cricket Life. All right.
Hi everyone, good morning. Great to be here.
Hello. All right, so Ijeoma, as I think Dinesha has
Yes.
mentioned about few of the players missing from the South African setup, including big names like Marizan Kaap, Trisha Chetty, and Tumi Sekukune. So, how do you think South Africa are going to cope with such a big loss, and who do you think could be their replacements? Yeah, Ijoma,
Okay.
if you can,
Good
yeah.
morning, everyone. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're,
You can hear me now, right?
yes, you're audible.
Okay. Also, just like you said, South Africa has lost some of their top key players. But then I'm looking at a player like what's the name? Subname Ismail, coming in, adds a good bowler. She's someone whom the team can rely on. I'm also looking at Chloe Troin, and she's been very good with the batting setup. So she's someone whom I also think that the team can really rely on to give up something very great for the South African team. Sadly, the South African team has lost those number of players and batters and all that, but I'm optimistic that the team could do something really great for against New Zealand this time around.
Absolutely. So I think South Africa may have it a tough time going into the Commonwealth Games, given the fact that they are missing some of the key names in Kaap, Chetty, and Sekukune, of course. So on the other hand, Dhanush, let me ask you that Amelia Kerr, on the other hand, for New Zealand, we don't know whether she is going to be a part of the first match or not because she was tested COVID positive just a week before the start of the Commonwealth Games. So in case she is not a part of the first match for New Zealand, how big a loss is that going to be? Because we all know that she's a world class all rounder.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. She is the poster girl of New Zealand cricket, if I'm not wrong. And the way she has been the talk of that team, especially the first name that comes to our mind if you talk about New Zealand women's cricket, it's Amelia Kerr. And the way she has performed over the last few years, and this year hasn't been good for her. We saw her not performing so well in the World Cup, ICC Women's World Cup back in March, and she hasn't had that much of cricket also. If I'm not wrong, New Zealand women haven't played any competitive cricket after the ICC World Cup, whereas South Africa have played a couple of tours to England and Ireland. So definitely, it's going to be a big loss as a whole if Amelia Kerr misses out, especially this game, because the team that wins in today's match have a better chance of finishing up as number one or number two at least, because England is another team that is going to be really a tough challenge to face. Whereas you can say that these two teams can defeat Sri Lanka. So definitely Amelia Kerr not being a part of the squad in today's match, especially, is going to impact New Zealand a lot. And if that happens, it's going to be big pressure on Susie Betts and Sophie Devine to carry it from the top. And there is nothing in the middle order. Basically, there is inexperience and youngsters who are still making their move in the international cricket. So it's going to be a tough going. Like how South Africa is missing a couple of names here, Amelia Kerr's absence is enough for New Zealand to not look so good. Is what I feel.
Absolutely. And as we are talking about Amelia Kerr, we all know that she had that double century in ODI format and also the 5 wicket haul in the same ODI. So we all know what a great player she is. And I'm sure that probably our South African guests over here, Dinesha and Lee, they don't want to see Amelia Kerr playing against them today. All right. So as we are talking about Amelia Kerr and of course Amy Satterthwaite, who announced her retirement. So if we see from the New Zealand point of view, the two batters in the top four, they may not be a part, given the fact that Amelia Kerr could be or could not be a part of the match today. But Neha, how do you think will New Zealand batting shape up in the match against South Africa? Will they be heavily dependent on their opening pair and Susie Bates and Sophie Devine?
Absolutely. I think New Zealand batting will be heavily dependent on Sophie Devine and Susie Bates. Now, they've been legends of the game. They've been batting for so long at the top of the order. But besides that, if Amelia Kerr does feature in, she would walk into my playing 11 any day. That's the kind of quality player she is and the contribution she's had. I know she's had a rough year, but that certainly doesn't take away from the kind of contribution she's had. And another key player I'd like to talk about is Maddie Green. Right now, she made her international debut way back in 2012. She was aged young. She was young, and she's been in the ecosystem for quite some time now. So I feel she can also contribute. She's a powerful batter and an off spinner too. She's a good fielder as well. So it's time for her to get into the groove and actually contribute a lot more. And with Brooke Halliday and Jessica McFadden, the wicketkeeper, I feel they're decent middle order batters who should be looking to make an impact. But I would rely heavily on Sophie Devine and Susie Bates to make the impact right at the top of the order.
Right. So though we have the experienced players in Bates and Devine, of course, for New Zealand, but then there are again some young players, I think, in the form of Maddie Green, Brooke Halliday, also as Neha has pointed out. So Dinesha, moving on in the T20I series that South Africa played against England. In the third T20, I remember that Nonkululeko Malaba, she opened the bowling, and on the very first ball, she had the better of Sophia Dunkley. So do you see something like that happening going into the match against New Zealand, given the fact that Marizan Kaap, who is the usual opening bowler, is missing from the fixture?
Yeah, I would love for something to happen like that there again. Just going back and living that moment. It's crazy what you sit on the bench, and we were getting hit all sides of the park, and then Nonkululeko gets a chance, and first ball of the match, I think that energy that she brought into that just changed the whole perspective. And I'm not too sure why they left it for the third T20. And I know, look, for me, in that third T20, I think we just lost it in that Sophie Eccleston over where she just got into Masabata class. But I thought we played good cricket. Um, and what was surprising for me, it wasn't so much the skill set, it was just the energy that we brought into the field. And I would love to see that going into this New Zealand game. It's not easy. You get a whitewash series, apart from the draw with the test. You come into Commonwealth Games, you're playing against different nations. It's sort of like a World Cup vibe where you have to keep changing every day. Your team talks are different, your analyst is different. So it's not easy for that unit to be there, and we're missing a lot of experience in that camp. So what I would like to see is the things that we can control, like our energy levels, our bowling intensity, change between overs, the way we run between wickets. I think those are things that we can get a lot better in, regardless of how many caps are in the playing 11. Yeah, what I loved about Nonkululeko Mlaba, even though she was sitting out on the bench, she came there, she came with energy. It just brought that South African flavor again, and I think I missed that before the games before that. So that was really exciting to see. I just hope that we rock up today with the intent of being better than we were before. We stick to the plans. We've got to look like we've got a plan going on there. uh, and yeah, I think if that energy can go into the batting as well, I think that will help us a lot in today's fixture.
So I hope that probably the South African team is listening to Dinesha you of course and to this show, and probably you could see Non Kulileku opening the bowling for South Africa and maybe getting rid of somebody like a Sophia Dunkley. Sorry, not Sophia Dunkley rather. Who do we have? So Susie Bates or Sophie Devine on the very first ball of the match. All right. So, Lee, if we look at the head-to-head statistics, right, between New Zealand and South Africa, I know it is pretty disappointing from a South African perspective. They have won just 2 out of the 11 T20Is. But do you think that will play on the South African mind, or do you think they'll go ahead with more confidence and take on New Zealand today?
Yeah, well, we're hoping that it wouldn't play. Excuse me, it wouldn't play on the minds. I think we know that cricket is a funny game. That irrespective of what stats say, a team can come into the playing field and have a completely different mindset and be able to get in there and win games. But I think one thing that we know for sure is that looking at the series that they just came back from, South Africa could highly be bruised. Their confidence knocked out. But I think at the end of the day, it's all about, what Coach D had said, that you need to come in, play with intensity, make sure that you have all, the areas playing the way that they should on that particular day. So I think even if stats say that, New Zealand has beat us in the past as far as the T20 game is concerned, but you want to be able to see the ladies play with so much intent. I mean, I was looking at, players like Tasman Brits who came in, obviously, because we heard that Marizan Cup won't be playing in this Commonwealth game. So even she left early before the series ended against England. But you saw her come in the final T20 game, playing with a different kind of, intensity that usually she plays with. I think she came in with so much positive attitude. She's playing her natural game. And I think she just went in there and said, you know what, we've already lost the series. What else can we lose? And I think that's the kind of mentality you want to be seeing from the players, that, yes, we just came back from a loss against England, but that has no reflection on how we will be playing in the next couple of games. And so I think it's about just making sure that you forget about the series that you came back from, and making sure you go into the next next game against New Zealand with more positivity, making sure there's energy on the field, making sure that, we have our batting lineup working the way that it should. And yes, there has been a lot of changes as far as the batting is concerned. We've seen Laura Goodall not coming in at number 3 anymore, but moving into a new position, opening the batting lineup alongside Annika Bosch. And so I think those are some of the things that you kind of need to adjust very quickly and make sure that you find your footing and your rhythm immediately, so that you could just ease into the game. And so I'm hoping that the batting will work, the fielding will work, as well as the bowling, because we know that we've got one of the most experienced bowling attacks in the world. So hopefully, as far as Shibi is concerned, we'll be able to rock in there, do what we expect of her to come in, and also, Lefty as well. Well, we call her Lefty, but Nonkuleka Mlaba coming in as well. Hoping that you'll also have a good day at the office as far as the bowling is concerned. But I'm quite optimistic. I think we can just go in there and hopefully just secure a first win in this Commonwealth game against New Zealand.
Absolutely. So let us hope that we get to see a good game of cricket. And as of course, Lee is pointing out that maybe South Africans are able to get the better of the White Ferns today. All right. So actually, there I was just going through the weather forecast, and probably there's a 80% chance of rain. And I somehow feel that whenever South Africa plays, probably the rain gods, they seem to be little disappointed that the South African team is playing, and probably they just want to have some shower or something. But let us hope that we get a complete day of cricket today. But as we are on the topic of the rain, so Dhanush, how important do you think toss will be, given that we have 80% chance of rain? What do you think the captain winning the toss will opt to do?
With you saying this thing of 80% of rain, so certainly it's going to be overcast conditions. So that's going to be the case. And I personally feel if South Africa win the toss, they will choose to bowl first because they have some of the seasoned fast bowlers in them with Shabnim Ismail, with Ayabonga Kaka, with Masabas Takas. So it's going to be depending on how the pace bowling attack of both the sides perform, because at the end of the day, that is what is going to be the key difference, is what I personally feel when it comes to the ultimate result. If South Africa bowlers get the early wickets, because as we are talking, apart from Susie Bates and Sophie Devine in the opener, who are the openers of New Zealand, there is nothing in the middle order which can be competitive as such. So I personally I think so. If the team's winning the toss with the overcast conditions, they would like to bowl first so that they can bundle out the opponents for a low score for like 120 or 140, and then they can chase it off as the day progresses. And I feel that for New Zealand, it's a tough game for them, more than, even though they have a better record against South Africa. I feel that it's going to be South Africa's game in today's match because of the lack of experience that I'm finding in New Zealand.
So Neha, any key matchups that you're looking at from the New Zealand South Africa perspective?
Right, so there are exciting players on both sides, but if I had to talk about key matchups, one would be Laura Boulevard and Leah Tahu. Now, Laura Boulevard, we've seen, she's the queen of cover drives and everything, but I think the recent series versus England kind of was a acid test for her, right? She was dismissed cheaply. She couldn't make the most of her outings, and Leah Tahu is someone who would thrive in conditions like this, right? Overcast conditions, swing. So, that matchup will be crucial. Another one is that of Mignon Dupre and Amelia Kerr too, because Mignon Dupre kind of has that weakness against spinners. So if Amelia Kerr comes in and gets those good leggies, I think it will be an interesting one to watch out for. And another one would be that of Shabnim Ismail or even Ayabonga Kaka versus Sophie Devine, because Sophie Devine is a very attacking batter, and seeing these two bowlers, bowling in tandem against her is going to be very fascinating and interesting to watch. So these are probably the key matchups that I'm going to look out for.
Absolutely, and I think as you're talking about matchups, I was just going through the statistics, and the captain of both teams, of course, Sophie Devine, she's on 98 wickets, and Sunelu, she's on 48 wickets. So Lee, who do you think is going to reach the milestone first? Of course, Lou reaching a 50 wickets today, or Sophie Devine reaching 100 T20 wickets today?
Maybe Sophie Devine. I'm not quite too sure, but I guess it all depends on who's going into the game. Being really optimistic that they'll be able to just get the ball rolling. But yeah, I guess we'll have to see who gets that milestone first.
Right. All right, great. So, Dinesha, in the yesterday's match, right, between India and Australia, so Indian bowling, if you had a chance to look at, so Renuka Singh Thakur, she was bowling that outside off stump length to McGlanning, and we all know McGlanning's strength is hitting those square cuts. And finally, she fell prey, hitting one straight in the hands of point. So, do you see any such strategy adopted by the South African bowlers today against the star New Zealand batters in Sophie Devine or Susie Bates?
Yeah, we have to. We have to. What I enjoyed about that game, and especially from the Indian bowlers, is that they had a plan, and it was sort of going towards a strength. And I have a lot of respect for cricketers like that there, because it's easy to go away from a strength and look for a weakness. But I think sometimes we can find weaknesses in people's strengths. So that was quality, and I really hope that we have the ability to do that. And I'll tell you why. We're looking at T20 cricket. It's 120 balls. If Susie Bates and Divine just gets 80 of that, they will be in trouble. So we've got to find a way either to get them back into the huddle, or we've got to keep them quiet. And it's not going to happen there if you just rock up on the day and say, I'm just going to try outside off and see for now. I'm sure that we sat together as a unit and said, these are the areas where they're looking to score, where they're not looking to score. What is the best plan forward with our current form in the bowling unit? We've got to start having conversations like that if we're not already. And at the end of the day, sometimes you've got to take risks involved, especially when we know we might not have our full strength team, or we're missing experience in the team. At the end of the day, you've got to buy into a plan, and if it doesn't work, you've got to have B, C, and D. And I think that's where we're exposed in the England series. It's like we only had one plan and we went with it, but we've got to be flexible and versatile here. I always say, like, there's one person batting, they in. Either you're getting them out or you're keeping them quiet. Whichever way you do that, you've got to identify those areas and you've got to execute your skills on the day. Uh, and that's only going to make you a better cricketer in future, because we can't be having conversations like this here all the time. That means there's no growth in our space, and that's the last place you want to be. So I really hope that we come with a few plans. I do want to see something different in terms of keeping batters quiet or trying to get them out. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, it's fine, but we've got to learn from those processes.
So maybe the South African bowlers could have some plans similar to India or some other plans. Let us see what happens in the match between South Africa and New Zealand today. All right, so before we start taking questions from our fans, maybe if we can have some quick predictions from all of you. Neha, if we can start with you, you can predict the score and the team you think is going to win today.
Right. So New Zealand does have top players available, and the likes of Sophie Devine, Susie Bates, Amelia Kurt, Leah Tahu could obviously be important players too. But the lack of match practice is something that's going to be kind of problematic. Considering they haven't played since that early exit from the home World Cup. But South Africa, on the other hand, is coming from good match practice, having played the series against England. But then again, it was a rough series for them, having lost all the limited overs games. So that is something that will be hurting them. But I think it will still be crucial match practice for them heading into this Commonwealth Games. So my prediction is, I think New Zealand still has the edge, and they might, just come out as victors. They have a point to prove, so this would be a good start.
I'm sure Lee will not agree with Neha's prediction. So, Lee, if we can have some predictions from you.
I definitely do not agree. Like I said earlier, yeah, they're definitely bruised, but I think they're going into not only the Commonwealth Games, but going into this game against New Zealand wanting to right their wrongs. And so I really genuinely think that because we're South Africa is a team that really has good comeback ability. We really, their attack phrase is always rising. So I think that they really want to go into this wanting to win against New Zealand, and they really understand the importance of having to win this first game, because maybe it might even set the tone on how they're going to play the next couple of games. So they definitely want to win against New Zealand. They definitely want to win against England and Sri Lanka. So they understand the importance of starting strong. So I'm hoping that they'll be able to do just that. And I know for a fact that we are winning this one. If we don't win this game, I'm not going to watch any of the next South African games out of heartbreak, that is. Because, sometimes, if you're used to a team continuously winning, I think there was a time when South Africa, had really back-to-back wins in series. And so we were used to that winning ability and that culture of winning. And so I think, they really have learned from the series against England, and then hopefully they'll be able to win this first Commonwealth game against New Zealand.
So I honestly hope that South Africa wins today's match, because Lee, we want you for all the remaining matches of South Africa and hope they reach the semi-finals at least. All right. So Dhanush, your quick predictions.
Yeah, I gonna support Lee's statement out here. The thing is, if I am seeing both the squads and if I see the players that are in there, and South Africa appeals to me a lot more experienced, a lot more ready for this tournament. Even though they might have had a 3-0 whitewash against England, but they know how the conditions are. That's going to be a really big factor. And this is a whole new tournament altogether, and the team is going. I personally feel is it's going to be a different mindset, and they will come with a new kind of a hope into this tournament. And I put my money on South Africa winning it because apart from the top order in New Zealand, and we don't know whether Amelia Kerr will be playing or not. And the middle order looks very slim, and in the bowling also, I don't find much confidence apart from Leah Tahu. So it's going to be tough for New Zealand, is what I think. Let us see how the end results is going to be. But right now, for me, it's going to be South Africa winning this match. And also to add on, I guess the team that wins today's game has a better chance of qualifying to the semi-finals because we may give the advantage for England because they are the home team, and if they win their three matches, the second team that's going to be qualifying will be either of these two. And if the team that loses in today's game is going to be in a back step because they have to face England and Sri Lanka in the upcoming games, which is going to be challenging for them.
Absolutely. All right. Finally, Dinesha, your predictions.
Yeah, I'm. New Zealand's gonna bat first. They're gonna probably make around 142 plus minus, and yeah, we're gonna win by 5 wickets. So my money's on
On the
South
very
Africa. It always will be, but that's
on
what.
the very last ball of the match. I think that was the last part of the sentence. Or a nail biter that you're expecting, Dinesha?
That
Yeah,
will always
always.
be synonymous with
Yeah,
South Africa.
yeah,
Since
yeah.
the
Last
World
It's,
Cup.
we brought up like that there, so it wouldn't be fun. I mean, if it wasn't a nail biter, and we had lots of experience from the World Cup, so it's
Yeah.
cool.
All right, great. So let us have some questions from our fans now. All right, Nisha is asking us, given all the hiccups that South Africa has faced as a team in recent times, what can they do to still finish at the podium? Dinesha, would you like to answer this?
Yeah, I think Nisha, that's a fantastic question. But yeah, I think it's the ability to believe. Look, from a skill perspective, we've just got to take responsibility. Everything that we've been practicing in the net, we've got to execute. The main thing for me is that if we get our mindset right, if we start doing the basics really well, we start thinking positive cricket, we start visualizing how we start winning games again, or just to go and reflect on what that winning feeling felt like. I think that's key for me. Uh, and it's in the energy levels. I mean, it's a funny thing about confidence because we're low on it now. But I'll still go back to that third T20. There was sparks of brilliance there, and I believe that if we can go in and inculcate that in in this tournament or starting with this game, I do believe we still have the ability to finish. Um, like I said, like before this, we have the experience of playing close games. The only thing for me is that we've got to start manifesting that you have the belief to win it. Because the mindset for me at this moment, 3 days in between a series to Commonwealth Games, you've got to work with your mind there because then you have the power to change anything.
And
Absolutely.
also, can I just add something? The Commonwealth Games is actually one competition or tournament that South Africa has good history in it as far as the men is concerned. I think if we look at history and that the men when they played their 50 format, they ended up winning the cup. And so we're coming from a backdrop where history tells us that the men have done it before and it doesn't have a negative connotation to it as far as the Commonwealth Games is concerned compared to a World Cup, an ICC World Cup event, that we can come in here with some level of positivity because South Africa, even if it's the men's side, has won it before, and then we can potentially do it irrespective of what kind of series we come back from. It's all about positivity, mindset, and how we approach the Commonwealth Games. So all the best to the ladies, and let's hope that they'll be able to potentially just get that trophy for us, even if it's going to be a tough one.
Great. Thanks for sharing this, Lee. We didn't know about South Africa winning the Commonwealth Games. I think it was way back in 1998, 24 years back in Malaysia. So great to know that. All right. So next question, can we have that, please? All right. So Roshan is asking us, New Zealand recently announced equal pay, but irony is that they haven't played a single game after the World Cup 2022, which means just having equal pay isn't enough. Opportunities need to be given. Dhanush, would you like to answer this?
Yeah, definitely. I also feel that they haven't played a single game for sure since the World Cup. And I don't think so. They will be having any kind of. I question the what is that? The ring rust or something like that, where they haven't had much of competitive games played. And seriously, it's an opportunity for South Africa to win this game. And I don't think so that New Zealand will be ready. And this is a completely different team altogether that what we saw in the World Cup. There is no Amis at that weight. There is no Katie Martin in the side, and the experienced head have retired, a couple of them. So it's going to be tough going. And with Amiriakar also not being in the playing 11, I feel South Africa have a great opportunity in winning this game.
All right, great. So, Dinesha, can we have your perspective on this?
Yeah, I think it's massive for New Zealand. When that news came out, I was like, that's really good for women's cricket. It's good for global women's cricket. Look, I'm not too sure why there wasn't any series being played. I'm not too sure if there were any agreements or what was the discussions, but it is unfortunate. I mean, we knew when Commonwealth Games were coming out. I mean, we know that New Zealand were really disappointing at the World Cup. I would have liked to seen a lot more fierce structure or playing structure in terms of how do we get more international cricket and trying to identify that brand. But I'm going to look at it on the other spectrum too. Maybe when a team loses like that, and they've been good for a long time. I mean, New Zealand, the White Ferns, they've been good. They've been dominating women's cricket for a while as well. Like you talk about the top four. Sometimes teams like that, they probably just need a break. They've just got to strip down everything in terms of culture, the way we want to play, who is in the structure, who's our depth in the teams. And if that's the way that they took, look, I'm a firm believer in that. Sometimes when we play a lot of cricket and there's no purpose to why we're playing, sometimes that's needed. So I'm not too sure if that was the case, but international women's cricket now, the more you play, the better you get. And hence why I say maybe South Africa's on a better foot now, even though we lost, but you can't take away game fitness. Uh, yeah.
Great. Thanks for sharing your perspective on this. Right. Can we have the next question? All right. Sunny has a question for you, Lee. Being part of the fair break earlier this year, you closely witnessed the New Zealand stars like Sophie Devine, Susie Bates in Dubai. Did you get a sneak peek on their preparations? What makes them world stars?
Oh yeah. Firstly, it was just so exciting to be part of a tournament like Fair Break. Giving opportunities to players from across the world. Associate nation players and even players that are full members of the ICC to participate in one tournament, because you get to see such players be able to give off their knowledge to other players as well. But yeah, I got to manage to see a Sophie Devine, Susie Bates in Dubai playing so well. But yeah, they're such stars. But outside of the fact that they're so skilled players and so talented players, but you saw them in a different light, where you got to see them give off the knowledge that they have had throughout all these years playing cricket. And I think that's the one thing that sets them apart. They're players that are willing to give off their knowledge of the game to younger players that are coming up. And I think that's what that makes them star players, because at the end of the day, you want players to be able to give back, make sure that the next generation of players that are coming into the setup are a next set of players that are well informed, are getting the kind of information and knowledge that is needed to carry them throughout their career. And so they're just amazing individuals, so humble, so interactive with all their players. I mean, you could see the experience that they played with in the different teams that they participated in. So a lot of experience, but a lot of love for the game itself, and I think that really is what makes them star players.
Absolutely. I think it was a visual treat for us as viewers to see, I think, 90 players from 35 different countries coming together for a tournament. Great. All right. So can we have one final question, I think, from our fan? Right, it is from Test cricket. Okay, runs weren't easy to come yesterday in the second game. Do you see games being a low scoring one? Neha, would you like to answer this?
Sure, yeah. So yeah, I agree that runs weren't that easy to come, but we still saw the teams batting first, posting 151 and like 144. So I think it's very like conditions specific. And today, because it's overcast, we might see, runs coming by again, a little tricky. But let's see, going ahead, we might see like some high scoring ones. At least 150 plus is like par, but beyond that will, be really competitive and interesting to see.
Great. Thanks. Thanks for answering this. All right. Once again, thank you to all the guests out here, Dinesha, Lee, Neha, and Tanush for talking to us and previewing this match between New Zealand and South Africa. The match will start at 3:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time and I think 12 noon South African time. And so all the fans can catch the live action on Sony Live and Sony 10 1. And we'll be back again at 9 p.m. today, that is 30th of July, to preview the match between England and Sri Lanka. So do join us for a conversation tonight at 9 p.m. and send us your questions using hashtag Female Cricket Live. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.